My Lords, 60% of English marine protected areas are protected by bylaws that limit the use of damaging fishing gear. On Monday the 9th of June, the Secretary of State announced that the Marine Management Organisation was starting a consultation on proposed bylaws to protect a further 42 MPAs. This substantial package would ban bottom trawling and shellfish dredging over 30,000 square kilometre. That is 13% of English waters. It is a significant step in preserving marine ecosystems through targeted action.
The Minister for that answer, and I very much welcome the announcement last week that progress will be made in marine protected areas, as currently 90% of the UK's MPAs remain open to bottom trawling. Does the Noble Lord agree that, given the state of fish stocks, this is an important move to ensure that fishing has a sustainable future? And following the consultation, I hope to see a swift implementation. Can the Noble Lord give more detail on the timeframe for this?
Well, my Lords, I welcome the noble Baroness's welcome of the announcement. It's an important step forward in a long-term plan to properly protect our marine ecosystems and environment whilst enabling fishing. And we've had to very carefully consider the next steps to manage bottom trawling MPAs along with other fishing methods in the context of our domestic and international nature conservation obligations. It's really important we get this right, and the proposed bylaws are very substantial. We'll be closing 13% of English waters, as I said, to bottom trawling, which will be critical to protecting our MPAs. So we want to move at pace, but I won't be setting out a precise timeline because it's important that we see the consultation through first.
I wonder if the Minister could help me clarify something. I've got here in my hand a cutting from Fishing News, the voice of the fishing industry. Minister Zeitner addressed the Shellfish Association last week, and he said to them that this news about the ending of bottom trawling is very, very grim for them. He knows how frustrating it is, and he says this is about ending trawling in areas where damage is already done. Why make changes in areas of MPAs that aren't at risk, which would apply to the 42 new ones that haven't yet been bottom trawled? It seems to me very concerning, and I'd be very grateful if you could lay out the government's precise position on this.
Well, my Lords, the government supports the fishing industry and recognises the key role in food supply they have, which is why we've also launching the Fishing and Coastal Growth Fund, which is investing £360 million over the next 12 years to support the next generation of fishermen to breathe new life into our coastal communities. This investment will make fishing industry fit for the 21st century, but we make no apology for taking the steps that were initiated by the previous government to protect, over the long term, protecting our natural marine environment. And it is worth pointing out that the majority of fishing fleets that'll be impacted by this ban on bottom trawling and shellfish dredging aren't UK fleets, but they're fleets of from other nations, principally, I believe, France, Ireland and Denmark.
I wonder if the Naval Minister could just clarify something. I know I'm a bit dense, but the headlines seem to be that they were banning bottom trawling in MPAs. But following from the noble lady Baroness Boycott's remarks that were made by the Minister's noble friend in the other place, is it a fact that it's banning bottom trawling in some MPAs but not all?
Well, my Lords, we want to stop fishing only where it's damaging protected species and habitats in MPAs. For example, some MPAs are designed are designated rather to protect seabirds or harbour porpoises. Bottom trawling restrictions won't help these species. Our regulators then undertake detailed assessments to make sure we protect our MPAs whilst allowing fishing and other activities to continue whilst it isn't damaging to them. So it is forgive the mammalian comparison, but it's a horses for courses.
Lib Dems, an awful lot of Tories.
Well, extending the ban on destructive bottom trawling is very welcome indeed. Can I ask whether the government did actually consider a full ban, given the urgency expressed in the Labour Party manifesto on this issue? And can I also ask, whilst the noble Baroness Sugg has asked for a timetable, and I think it's reasonable to get some sense of timetable, how a timetable will take place for comprehensive protection, and can the Minister outline to us how enforcement will prevent exemptions or delays and ensure that our MPAs are genuinely safeguarded as marine biodiversity?
Well, at the risk of repeating myself, we are not undertaking a blanket ban because it's important that we can support fishing and other marine activity where it isn't damaging marine ecosystems. One of the reasons that we are having the consultation is to understand the detail of it. But as I said, there are some MPAs that aren't about fishing activity, and it's about protecting. So we are looking in both a proactive way to understand how best to protect water column activity, for instance, as well as to ensure that our seabeds are protected. On timetable, I won't be drawn any further, but we're clear about the importance of proceeding at pace, but taking the fishing industry, marine conservation organisations, and the wider community along with us. And I would just point out that the Wildlife Trust called our announcement, it's called the Secretary of State's announcement the other day, a great step forward. And Oceana UK said it was a golden opportunity to safeguard these vital marine sanctuaries, and frankly, I agree with them.
My Lords, my Lords, Labour. No,
my Lords, my Lords. I don't think there's been a Labour questioner so far on this.
No, there hasn't.
I'm grateful to my noble friend, the Minister, for his responses on this. But could I ask, and I refer to my interests as Chair of the National Preparedness Commission, could I ask to what extent the security position is also being factored into these discussions? Because quite clearly, damage to undersea cables and undersea pipelines is a serious problem, and bottom trawling will not help.
Well, my noble friend is absolutely right, and this is why we're serious about taking action in this area, whether it comes to national security or indeed promoting biodiversity and protecting our marine environment. We want to work with all stakeholders to get this right, and that means I'm sure we'll be very interested to hear the views of the National Preparedness Commission and other such authorities in understanding the impact of bottom trawling on this important kind of national infrastructure.
Jones.
All-in way to fish, but a superb way to destroy everything on the seabed. Last year, according to statistics from Oceana, just 10 fishing vessels of at least 20 metres in length were responsible for 27% of the suspected bottom trawling in our marine protected areas, wrecking fragile seabed ecosystems, releasing carbon and dumping tens of thousands of tonnes of discarded fish of the wrong sort. And I'd say to the Minister, that applies to every single MPA and not just those with special species he wants to protect. None of these 10 vessels were from the UK, and just 6% of the total of 33,000 hours of suspected bottom trawling in NPAs were carried out by UK vessels. So whilst we welcome the consultation, would the government partly redeem itself from selling out our fishermen to the EU by banning those 10 big foreign boats? That's a 20% saving overnight, and then phase out the rest of bottom trawling over the next couple of years.
Well, I think the noble Lord would agree that it's important that we have a comprehensive and fair and equitable approach to the way that we protect our marine environment. And in terms of discard rates, which the noble Lord mentioned, presently it's the case that the CFAS Observer Programme monitors and provides estimates of the discard rates for a variety of quota species, including using methodologies aligned with the International Council for the Exploration of the Sea standards. Looking ahead, we want to implement remote electronic monitoring program, which involves installing cameras on vessels, which is expected to enhance our understanding and really understand the landscape of good behaviour and indeed bad behaviour. But for the meantime, what I will tell the noble Lord is that we believe that the approach that we are taking, it's groundbreaking, but it's in line with what's happened before by the previous administration in taking a whole piece approach to this important issue.
I'm sure the noble Lord the Minister knows that the UK has 377 marine protected areas, of which only 38 are actually fully protected. Could I just clarify that the 42 that they're consulting on are actually different from the 38? And surely the noble Lord the Minister can tell us when the consultation will end.
The 42 of the consultation, as the noble Baroness sets out, covers 42 MPAs. 41 of those have bottom-towed gear restrictions proposed. As I understand it, I will write if it's not the case. Those are separate from those previous 38. So the consultation will close later in the year. I understand, sometime in the autumn. But again, I will write with further details if that is not the case.